Om Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti. We'll continue studying with the topic attractions of the world.
To reach God, one has to combat and rise above the attractions of the world and focus one's attention upon the Supreme Self within. The perennial problem that humanity faces is to direct one's thoughts towards that unknown self. Since one cannot possibly think of the self at all times, one should initially try to free oneself from the external attractions. Think less and less of the allurement of the world and not fall a prey to it. A practical approach to the problem would be to examine and withdraw gradually from the attractions of the world. Material world. The world is one great attraction. Money lures people to a point of fault. There is an endless craving to acquire and enjoy wealth. People are caught in the spiral and remain fastened to this enchantment with no thought of seeking anything higher. The solution to the problem lies in first understanding the futility of material pursuit, that there is no end to acquisition and enjoyment. The more you acquire, the more you want to acquire. The more you enjoy, the more you want to enjoy. Enough is never enough. Hence, you feel a sense of frustration, a wanting all through life, regardless of what you possess and enjoy. To avoid this predicament, you must be cautious not to let your present happiness depend on future acquisition. One way of achieving it is to standardize your requirements in life. Acquire whatever you can comfortably afford. Learn to be content with it and not yield to the mind's futile craving for more and more. Physical body. The sense organs through the day gravitate to their respective sense objects. Furthermore, the sense objects of the world enchant, draw the sense organs towards them. Thus, there is a push from within and a pull from the outer world, and the human being falls a prey to this pressure. He becomes a slave to the senses. The vast majority of the human race belong to this category. On the other extreme, some consider that all sensual enjoyment is forbidden. As a result, they forcibly deny themselves sensual experience and live a life of frustration. These are two extreme paths to be avoided. The proper way of functioning physically is to allow the sense organs to participate without being victimized. Be a master and not a slave to the senses. Such mastery arises when the sense perception ends with mere perception, with no further complication. Study the following analysis of a perception to understand and implement this procedure. There are 5 sense organs contacting their respective sense objects. However, the most important link in all perceptions is the respective sense centers located in the mind. The anatomy of a perception is as follows. Corresponding to the 5 sense organs, there are 5 sense centers as well. The stimuli are again of 5 types arising from the respective sense objects in the external world. Color and form for the eyes, sound for the ears, smell for the nose, taste for the tongue, and touch for the skin. The stimulus proceeds from the sense object, passes through the respective sense organ, and reaches the sense center in the mind. It is then that a perception is registered. Thus, when you see, hear, smell, taste, or touch, the respective sense perception is complete. You enjoyed that perception. Though the perception ends there, the general tendency among humans is to linger mentally in that enjoyment which generates a desire for it. You do not let the perception end with mere perception. You mentally relive that enjoyment and create ripples of desires. The desires thus produced keep you fastened to the world. They do not allow your thoughts to rise to the subtler aspects of life. Your thoughts, thus anchored to the terrestrial world, fail to reach higher realms. The solution lies in ending perception with perception. Gain that mastery over the senses. Your mind becomes free from desires that pin you down to the world. Your thoughts could then rise to the higher realm of reality. Mind, the tendency among human beings is to yield to one's likes and dislikes. Your mind is replete with likes and dislikes, which you have inadvertently collected from early childhood. These attractions and aversions keep your mind glued to the world. And with the lack of development of the intellect, you follow in the wake of your mind. Besides the tendency to yield to likes and dislikes, people form mind develops attachment to wealth, physical body, family, name, fame, power, and religion. The attachment and consequent possessiveness keep you fettered, shackled, bound to the world. Hence must you study and understand the consequences of mundane attachments and avoid them to evolve spiritually. You need a powerful intellect to rise above worldly attraction and subsequent attachment. Since the intellect cannot conceive the reality, God, directly, you would do well to study the aftermath of attachment and discard it as futile. Thus, through knowledge and understanding, liberate yourself gradually from the clutches that clamp you to the world and rise to the sublime reality.
Now, what he's talking about is shift your focus, he said, for which we studied what is shifting the focus, etc., in the last week. And then he went on to say the poem Toys, where the focus is lost. Where is it that you are focusing, as a result of which you are lost? Where is it that you are focusing, as a result of which you are lost? The toys. The poem Toys spoke about it. Now, that is being further analyzed in detail now as an attractions of the world. So, shift your focus from the attractions of the world to the reality. That is the message. Shift your focus from the attractions of the world to the reality. It's very easy said. Very easy to say shift to the focus from the attractions of the world. Actually, everybody wants to do it by themselves. They all know that they are getting tempted. Everybody knows that they are getting attracted, and they want freedom from that. Everybody wants this freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom implies that you are held as a slave now. Then only you will aspire for freedom. The fact that you are aspiring for freedom means you are suffocated with your current status. If you are happy with your current status, there is no seeking freedom after that, because you are happy already. Irrespective of your situation, you want to change. The richest person also wants to change. The most powerful person also wants a change. So it means at constantly there is this wanting to change. This very fact of wanting to change is because as you are now, you are dissatisfied. And this dissatisfaction is slavery. And you want freedom from this dissatisfaction. So actually, when we say freedom from the world, it is not freedom from the world, which is what we saw last week, if you remember. It's not freedom from the world. It is freedom from your own sense of dissatisfaction. And we also saw that, and we also saw how chronic it is. This dissatisfaction is chronic. It is chronic means moving from one joint to the another joint, but never leaves the body. It means it will shift from one to the other, but the end result is the same, pain. It doesn't matter whether your left hand is paining or the right hand is paining. It doesn't matter whether your left knee is bad or right knee is bad. At the end of the day, you will be in pain. The pain is because this chronic dissatisfaction. The pain is because of the chronic dissatisfaction. And the chronic dissatisfaction itself is because of lack of knowledge. This dissatisfaction itself is because of knowledge. Because you are so dissatisfied, you do not know what else to do but to chase the world. You don't know anything else. Since you don't know anything else, you necessarily end up chasing the world. And this chase makes the dissatisfaction more. That's why it's called chronic. There is a dissatisfaction and you chase the world, and by chasing the world, it becomes worse. How do you know that it is worse? The proof of it is, as you are today, you want, as you are today, you want a change, isn't it? Either you want a different environment, isn't it? Either you want a different environment, or you want a different person, or you want a different city, or you want a different country, isn't it? With the body, you will try for all this. And when it doesn't work, what you will do? You will leave this body and seek all this through another body. You try with this body first. That's why the starting point is always the body, because you try with the body first. When how do you try with the body? From the village, you will come to the town. From the town, you will come to the city. From the city, you will go to a bigger city. From the bigger city, you will go to, I don't know, where else to go, isn't it? Maybe Moon or Mars. I don't know, where else you will go. So, you are chasing the world. Why you are chasing the world? You are chasing the world because the hope that the world will give freedom from your dissatisfaction. You are dissatisfied and you believe that the world will offer you satisfaction. And what all in the world that will offer you satisfaction? It's broadly divided into three: the material aspect of the world, the physical body, the mind. It's broadly divided into the three. Before we go into the three, first we'll try to understand the concept. Because of the dissatisfaction, the mind always says, you always believe that the dissatisfaction is because of something is lacking. What something is lacking? People are not cooperating, isn't it? People are not cooperating, sir. You are not cooperating, why will other cooperate? Isn't it? If you cooperate, others will automatically cooperate. If you are not cooperating, because the others will not cooperate, because world is we have seen that already. The world is a mirror. It reflects you. It doesn't have anything independent. It reflects you. The environment is not cooperating. Are you able to follow? The people is not cooperating. The environment is not cooperating. Body is not cooperating. Children are not cooperating. Parents are not cooperating. University teachers are not cooperating. The boss in the office is not cooperating. Nobody will cooperate. Isn't it? At the end of the day, nobody will cooperate. So the dissatisfaction doesn't leave at all. Because to fill the dissatisfaction is not by the world. The dissatisfaction is in you. Are you able to follow? And as long as it is in you, whatsoever you do in relation to the external world, nothing will change. You can live with Shankaracharya, Krishna, Ramana Maharshi and be completely dissatisfied. You can live with the Shankaracharya. You can live with Ramana Maharshi. You can live with Lord Krishna himself and still feel utterly dissatisfied. Or you could be in the whatever others say in the worst of environment and still not be affected. It means what? It is not It is not the world that is doing it. It is how, for what you are dealing with the world. For what are you associating with the world? Are you able to follow? For what are you dealing with the world? What are you associating with the world? You associate with the world in the hope that world will give you satisfaction. What is the consequence? If you deal with the world thinking that the world is going to give you satisfaction, what is the consequence? Ram Tirtha says, it's very obvious. Stand in front of the mirror, he says. It's very obvious. Stand in front of the mirror. That is the consequence. When you stand in front of the mirror, Shankar, when you stand in front of the mirror, that is the consequence. Purida? When you stand in front of the mirror, what do you see? You see yourself, no. You are the consequence. Your present life is the consequence of that way of living. What is that way of living? Dealing with the world, seeking satisfaction. What is the other way to deal with the world? Okay, can you escape from the world? Can you escape from the world? You can escape. Where can you escape? Isn't it? From Chennai, you can go to Mumbai. From Mumbai, you can go to Hong Kong. From Hong Kong, you can go somewhere else. You can go. But wherever you go, what are you carrying with you? The chronic disease. Are you able to follow? So, you cannot escape the world. Then what is the right way of dealing with the world? What is the right way of contacting the world? The right way of contacting the world is only one. What is that only way? What is that only way? Anybody? I said, what is the wrong way? What is the wrong way of dealing with the world? The wrong way of dealing with the world is hoping that the world will take away your dissatisfaction and gives you satisfaction. That is not possible. We have seen that. Okay, can you escape from the world? That also we have negated it as not possible. Why? Because we saw that in the last class also, isn't it? Such a noisy place, you'll go and sit in an Himalayan cave. The mosquito there can bring about a dissatisfaction. What is the right way of dealing with the world then? Right way of dealing with the world is obligations. So only way. Obligation. What is my obligation? Fulfill my obligation. If you learn to relate to the world by this method, what will happen? There is no dissatisfaction. Are you able to follow? There is no dissatisfaction. But we don't see it like that. Instead, we believe that the world is going to give happiness, and that happiness will give me freedom from my dissatisfaction. Are you able to follow? Why? Because dissatisfaction in you is there as a disease. It doesn't really matter what the other does, isn't it? Husband is very supportive, sir, but mother-in-law is not supporting, isn't it? Husband and mother-in-law is very supporting, but the maids are not supportive, isn't it? Husband is very supporting. That itself is impossible, very difficult. But then somehow it happens. And then mother-in-law also supporting. That is much more impossible. That also happens. Maid cooperating, that is enlightenment almost, isn't it? That is enlightenment almost. That is also happening. And still dissatisfaction will not. Are you able to follow? Still dissatisfaction will not go. Still the dissatisfaction will not go. Beautiful discipline, they said. Wherever there is a dissatisfaction, instead of seeking satisfaction immediately, wherever there is a dissatisfaction, instead of seeking satisfaction immediately, beautiful discipline, titiksha. Aham titikshasva bharata. Practice titiksha. I'm slightly branching off and then I'll come back to this. I'm slightly branching off. He's not talking about, I'm branching off and then we'll come back to it. There is a dissatisfaction. And what is your goal? The goal is freedom from this dissatisfaction. And the way you think that you will get freedom from the dissatisfaction is by relating to the world and getting a few things from the world that will give you satisfaction. What are the things that you are going to, that you will focus? Material world as in wealth, material world as in wealth, and then the body, and then the mind. When dissatisfaction happens, instead of instantly seeking satisfaction, what do? Beautiful discipline. Practice titiksha. And where they started the training in titiksha cannot happen at 40 and 50. Training in titiksha cannot happen at 60 and 70. So difficult, no, nowadays, isn't it? If the pillow is 1 millimeter height, 1 centimeter height, the person cannot sleep, correct? Person cannot sleep. 1 centimeter, that's all, not different. So wherever you go, you have to carry your, wherever you go, what you end up carrying? You end up carrying your pillow, you end up carrying your bed sheet, you end up carrying your bedspread, you end up carrying, house on wheels. House on wheels, okay? But when you are traveling from one continent to the other continent, what do? Ship it, sir. Where is the problem? Ship it and continue from there. Are you able to follow? This chronic dissatisfaction. So, where there is a dissatisfaction, immediately don't seek satisfaction. The right room is needed, the right bed is needed, the right temperature is needed, isn't it? Everything has to be in one order. Yeah, it should be focused. If it is slightly this side or that side, cannot handle, slightly this side. And they are called perfectionists. They are not perfectionists. They are the intolerant ones. Don't take, they are not perfectionists. They are simply the intolerant. And perfectionists are the most considered intolerant, prejudiced. They are the most, because they are so intolerant. They are so prejudiced and most conceited also. Why conceit? Because they believe they are perfect, isn't it? That's why I keep saying there are many ways to become insane, and the fastest way to become insane is turn into a perfectionist. And if you have one perfectionist in your house, you have done some very good karma in the past to suffer. If there is one perfection in the house, that is it. And especially there is somebody called head of the family, no? And if the head of the family is the perfectionist, Vedanta says, your karmas are getting exhausted, just simply put up with it, it will say. What else to do? Are you able to follow? What else to do? It is so Because the dissatisfaction is so, the dissatisfaction is so strong and so powerful, you are almost on the edge and anything can trigger that. Everyone follow? You are at the, all the time you are at the, all the time you are at the edge and anything can trigger. And there are three factors that can trigger. What are the three factors that can trigger? The wealth, the body, the mind. We'll see one by one. Wealth we'll see, body we'll see, mind we'll see. Before we enter into that, a basic analysis of what is common for all the three. What is common for all the three? This is the common. Where there is a dissatisfaction, immediately they want a, immediately. And they take pride in that. No, sir, I'm so particular, sir, that I'm so particular about everything. So particular about everything, so particular about everything. Even if one thing is disturbed a little bit, I cannot tolerate. Why? Because it disturbs me. Because it disturbs. So perfectionism is what? You are disturbed. What is perfectionism? You are disturbed. And you torture the other to. You torture the other to. What do? You torture the other to protect you, to save you from that dissatisfaction. And it is chronic. And it is chronic. It will keep moving from one to the other, to the other, to the other. Shift your focus. Shift your focus. What is shifting the focus now? The wrong focus. What is the wrong focus? Attractions to the world. And why are you getting attracted to the world? You are getting attracted to the world. I'm summarizing just now. Whatever we spoke just now, the focus is wrong, which is known as attractions to the world. And why are you getting attracted to the world? You are getting attracted to the world because the hope that the world will give you freedom from the chronic dissatisfaction. That is why you go. To reach God, one has to rise above the attractions of the world. Please understand. It is not rising above the world. It is rising above the attractions of to the world. You are asked to rise above your attractions, for you can never rise above the world. Because wherever you go, there will be a world. So what is rising above the world means? It's not rising above the world. It is rising above your attractions to the world. So what it boils down to is freedom from attractions. From this attraction, what it does, you are so occupied with that. When you are attracted to the world, you are mentally occupied with that. You know that, no? Something the mind is occupied with all the time, isn't it? It's called preoccupation, isn't it? The mind is preoccupied with something. It is preoccupied with. What is it is preoccupied with? We don't know. When I say we don't know means everybody has their own area of preoccupation, isn't it? And it keeps going and it is circling around that all the time. Waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, in all states of consciousness. If there is another 3-4 states of consciousness, even there it will be the same thing. What? The preoccupation. What are you preoccupied with? Either you will be preoccupied with the wealth, or you'll be preoccupied with your own physical body, or about the emotions. These are the three preoccupations. Material world means you are preoccupied with wealth. Body means you are preoccupied with your body, isn't it? Your body. How you look, or how you should look. What is the ideal way of looking? What should be the tone of the skin? The tone, the texture, I don't know what all it is, isn't it? What all it UV protection, what all protection you have to have, no? Skin care protection, UV protection, and then VV, I don't know, yeah, what all VVV protection you need to protect. This is, so you are so preoccupied with this all the time. So when you are so preoccupied about this all the time, Parame Brahmani Kopi na Saktaha. Where do you have time to think about the reality? Huh? Alastavat Krida Saktaha, Tarunastavat Taruni Saktaha, Vriddhastavat Chinta Saktaha, Parame Brahmani Kopi na Saktaha. You have no time to think about the reality at all because you are so preoccupied thinking about that. So what is the practical way? Where you are thinking, by understanding it rightly, you will stop thinking about it. So instead of saying drop it and leave, you can't drop. How can you drop? You cannot drop. Therefore, by understanding it rightly, what do? You leave. What is the right understanding? That is the analysis we are doing now. What is the understanding? Some analysis is done. So first analysis will be about wealth. Second analysis will be about your body. The third analysis will be about your mind. Mind means emotions. Wealth, body, emotions. Mind means understand it as emotions. First, we'll start with wealth. Wealth attracts money. Money lures people to a point of fault. Why? Because wealth is required. Wealth is required to buy an object. Wealth is required to buy an object. And by acquiring that object, what will happen to you? You will be satisfied. You are dissatisfied and you need some objects to satisfy you. And in order to acquire those objects, what do you need? You need wealth. And in order to acquire wealth, find a rich person and marry, sir. That's all. There is the problem. Yeah. All that you need to acquire wealth, all that you need to do is find a rich person and get married. So in order to acquire wealth, so that with the wealth you can buy objects and that objects will give you satisfaction and therefore you are free from the chronic dissatisfaction. So in order to acquire wealth, you need a skill. In order to acquire wealth, you have to work. In order to work, you need a skill. So what is the process of acquiring wealth? What is the process of acquiring wealth now? First, you need to have a skill. You need a skill. With the skill, you work with the skill and that work will reward you with wealth. And with that wealth, you can acquire objects. After acquiring object, what will happen to you? You will be satisfied. You will be satisfied. That's the sequence. And then what happens? Object comes. So first you do skill. You acquire a skill. Skill comes. It's not the skill doesn't come. Skill comes depending upon your effort, and depending upon your effort and etc. You will acquire skill. Skill comes. According to the skill, you will get wealth. According to your skill, you will get a job, and the job will fetch you wealth. And that wealth will acquire, and the wealth will make you to buy some objects. Now the objects have come. Now the objects is there in front of you. Looking at that object, what is happening? Looking at that object, what is happening? If I had waited, 2 weeks if I had waited, the next model I would have got. Yes, 2 weeks I should have waited, isn't it? If I had waited for 2 weeks, I would have gotten the next model. And then the next model. And then the next model. Satisfaction can never come to a person from what that person is going to get. Satisfaction is in relation to what you have. Satisfaction is not in relation to what you get. Satisfaction is always in relation to what you have. Satisfaction is not related to what you are going to get. That's why he says, never pitch your present happiness on future acquisition. Never pitch your present happiness on future acquisition. And that is impossible. Why? Because as you are, when you are so dissatisfied, how can you be? How can you know? How can you be? Therefore, the material pursuit. What is the futility of the material pursuit? Is wealth required? Wealth avasyama, sir. Is wealth required? Yes or no? Vedanta says it's never yes or no. It is yes and no. The moment you can understand the answer yes and no, you have learned how to live. If you ask yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, you have not learned anything. The answer is, do you need wealth? The answer is yes, and the answer is no. Yes for some conditions, no for something else. Yes to acquire object, no for satisfaction. Yes and no. Are you able to follow? Wealth is required. Is wealth required? Yes or no? What would be the answer? Vijay. Yes or no? அப்படின்னு கேட்டாலே என்ன சொல்லணும்? Yes and no. Will you marry me? Yes or no? Prasad. யாரும் கேட்க மாட்டாங்க சார், அதெல்லாம் 40 years back it happened. Who is going to ask now? Huh? Prasad. Will you marry me? The answer is yes or no. The answer is yes and no. Yes under terms and conditions. No if no terms and conditions. So it is yes or no. It is yes and no. Are you able to follow? This is clarity. This is what knowledge, this is what Vedanta knowledge does. It brings about this. Are you able to follow? It brings about this clarity. What is this clarity? Is wealth required? Somebody says, no, sir, wealth is not required. No, that fellow doesn't know what he's saying. Take away wealth and all is not required, sir. Okay, then give away all your wealth. No. Oh, no. It means the answer as no is wrong. Correct? Is wealth required? Yes. And you yourself know that yes is not the right answer. It means you do not know whether it is actually required or not. Vedanta says wealth is required if you want objects, if you want more and more and more objects, if you want more and more and more cars, if you want more and more houses, if you want more and more acquisition, what is needed? Wealth is needed. Are you able to follow? I want satisfaction, sir. Then wealth has got no connection to satisfaction. Are you able to see the difference? Is it yes or no? It is yes and no. There is no end to this acquisition. There is no end to this enjoyment. Enough is never. Enough is never enough. What is the way to deal with the wealth then? To find satisfaction, standardization is the method by which you find satisfaction in the present. Standardization is not in relation to 20 years later, because 20 years later, when your thing changes, you will change. But standardization is in relation to the present, and there is a satisfaction. Therefore, he says, one way to achieve is to standardize your requirements in life. You cannot avoid acquisition. That is why Vedanta says the 4 goals of life, the 4 purusharthas of life. When Vedanta is introduced, it says Vedanta talks about the 4 goals of human pursuits. The first goal is artha. The first goal is artha, it is wealth. So acquiring wealth, having wealth and all is not a sinful act. It's a goal. It's not something wrong. What people do is either they go all out in acquiring wealth, and then they say, first we'll acquire, sir. Prashchittalam we'll do. Prashchittalam we'll do later. We'll call, other than there are so many temples are there. There are so many orphanages are there. So many people are there. We can give donations and get rid of the sins. Prashchitta. Are you able to follow? One set go all out acquiring wealth. Other set runs away from it. One believes that wealth can give happiness. He chases wealth. Another believes that wealth gives sorrow. He runs away from, that person run away from wealth. Vedanta says both are wrong. Vedanta will not certify the person who is running away from wealth saying that, wow, what a person of renunciation. It will not say that. A person chasing the wealth, hoping that it will give happiness, the person running away from wealth, believing that wealth will give sorrow, both are wrong. Both are wrong. Why? Because both of them believe that there is something in the wealth that can cause either sukha or dukkha. Able to follow? That person is called a materialist person. Who is a materialist? A materialist is one who believes, who is convinced that wealth can give pleasure or wealth can give pain. What is Vedanta? Neither gives pain nor pleasure. So wealth becomes something that is important for. Wealth is a factor that is necessary to live life, but it is not dependent, but it is not going to give you freedom from the chronic dissatisfaction. It is needed for life, but it is not going to give you freedom from your chronic dissatisfaction. Once you have understood that it is not going to give freedom from your chronic dissatisfaction, what will happen? your preoccupation with wealth becomes less. Your preoccupation with wealth becomes less. And so I can't be without doing work, sir. I'm so involved in my work. And the person thinks that what a great worker, karma yogi, yeah. All that person and make them 1 week work in the institute, third day the fellow will not come. Isn't it? It is not the work, it is the reward of the work. That is a materialistic person. Are you able to follow? Who's the materialistic person? A materialistic person is one who believes in working constantly. Who believe work. I can't stay even on Sundays. I have to work. That person is not a karma yogi. That person is called a materialist worker. Why is a materialist worker? Because the work is because of the rewards of the work. Are you able to follow? Same work, if you ask to do for a same thing where there is no reward. Swamiji always gives this example. 30 days you work in an organization. At the 30th day, evening they'll give you an envelope. People bank get transfer பண்றாங்க director, isn't it? Now all gets transferred to the bank. And one month, nothing is transferred. They don't transfer you, nothing is transferred to the bank, and they'll call you and they'll give you an envelope. In that envelope, it will be written, what? Thank you for your services. You have been a wonderful worker. Thank you for your services. What will you say? What will you say? You will not come home and tell the family, no, they recognized me as the best worker. Huh? It's not about work. Are you able to follow now? It's not about work. It is I just love to work, sir. I don't want anything out of it. It's simply impossible. It is. For a materialistic person, a person cannot work like that. Why? Because it's the reward. It's the reward that matters. So who's a materialist now? A materialist is one who has the wrong understanding about wealth. What does Vedanta say? Have the right understanding about wealth. What is right understanding about wealth? What it can give and what it cannot give. The right understanding means what it can give and what it cannot give. To expect something that it cannot give is ignorance. To expect something that it cannot give is ignorance. Insanity it is. It's who's wrong? Who's at fault? Is wealth at fault or you are at fault? Follow? Keep this as a rule for all your transactions in life. You'll be free. Keep this as a rule. For what is the rule? What you are expecting and what the other is capable of. This distinction you need to know. Able to follow? What you are expecting and what the other is, what is the capacity and what is your expectation. Your expectation has got no relevance to the capacity. Your expectation is insanity. Are you able to follow? Your expectations are always insane. Why? Because it has got no relevance to the capacity. And when you are exposed to the capacity, you feel cheated. When you are exposed to the capacity, you feel cheated. You come and say, I am disillusioned, sir. I am disappointed. I am disillusioned. I am cheated. The responsibility of your disillusionment, that you feel cheated, that you feel disappointed, is because of you. Why it is because of you? Because you had an expectation which the other cannot fulfill. Now what wealth cannot fulfill? Always ask this question. Before you ask anything from anybody, ask yourself this question. Before you relate to anything, ask yourself this question. Are they? You may believe they are capable. It's not the belief, it is your expectation. Are you able to follow? It is your expectation. And your expectations are always insane. So, in relation to wealth, what do you understand now? What wealth can give and what wealth is incapable of giving. What wealth can give? Objects it can give. No doubt it can give objects, isn't it? iPhone 13. Correct? Models, isn't it? Mini. And then comes normal, and then comes XL, and then double XL. I don't know what all is there. To get to that, you need wealth. Beautiful is that object. Wonderful is that object. There is nothing wrong with that object. Beautiful is that object. Wonderful is that object. Still you will be disappointed. Why? Because you are expecting something which the other cannot, which the other is not capable of. Just as you are not capable of something, other is also not capable. Therefore, there is a balance. Are you able to follow? So, what is wealth in relation to wealth now? What wealth can give and what wealth cannot give. Now come to the physical body. And in relation to wealth, we have seen that already. Every aspect of wealth is associated with pain. Acquiring it is painful. I'm not going into that analysis because we have done that quite a few times. Another 6 months later, we will do that again. It's not that we will not redo it. Now I'm just, forever it will not, after 6 months later in some other context, we will restart it, isn't it? Every aspect of acquisition is painful. Acquiring wealth is what all planning has to be done. Yeah, sorry. I was about to say what all scheming, but then I changed it. Yeah. Because you should not call it as scheming, you should call it as planning. Yeah. Planning, timelines, goals, isn't it? You can call anything. It doesn't make any. I would like to call it as scheming, manipulating, exploiting. You can do all that. You can, all that you will do. And acquire, that itself is very painful, isn't it? The process of acquiring wealth itself is very, very painful because so many competitors are also there. No, you are not the only person. There are so many people out there. So acquiring is very painful. Acquiring is painful. Now preserving what you have acquired is more painful, isn't it? Isn't it? Because if they come to know, what will they do? If they come to know, what will they do? Day before, I was going to buy something. I said, that don't go into the marketplace, so much of crowd and everything. Stop the car. I will walk and get something. I'll walk into the market, buy, and I said, no, sir, why are you walking? I'll take inside. And that person is not able to understand what I said. Then I spoke the language which that fellow understood, and he agreed. Correct, sir, he said. And you know what I said? ஒரு முழம் பூப்பா நடந்து போய் வாங்கினா 30 ரூபா, கார்ல போய் வாங்கினா 50 ரூபா. You get down from the car and ask for one, ஒரு முழம், what do you call that in, I don't know. முழம் நம்ம ஊர்ல தான் தெரியும். And இப்போ this recording and YouTube, அது ரெக்கார்டிங்கே தேவையில்லாதது, யூஸ்லெஸ். அதுக்கு மேல that goes on to the classes, அதுக்கும் வியூஸ் எல்லாம் வேற கிடைக்கிறது. I'm wondering who's sitting and watching that also now. Yeah, modamna, I don't know how to say that. Isn't you walk and go, it is one rate. You get down from the car, there is another. The driver said, correct, sir. I'm telling, don't disturb others. You don't have to go in there. People are walking, stand. I can walk and get out. That fellow is not able to understand that. Preserving what you have acquired is, are you able to follow? Preserving what you have acquired is more painful. Third is almost impossible. Parting is heart just torn out of you, isn't it? Parting is almost impossible. Suddenly everything will appear expensive if you have to buy from your salary, isn't it? Correct? Suddenly everything will look very Ola. Then what is the other one? Uber. So expensive, sir. That girl was telling me, 200 rupees, uncle. I said, 2 years back also you came by auto only, no, I said. Father's Google Pay. Now it is my Google Pay. Parting with it is impossible. Where is satisfaction? Where is the joy in wealth? There is absolutely no joy in wealth if you connect wealth to satisfaction. If you connect wealth to satisfaction, there is no joy. If you connect wealth with security, there is no joy. If you connect wealth with peace, there is no peace. Wealth is required for transactions, but it doesn't give security. Wealth is required for transactions, but it doesn't give satisfaction. That is, when you understand it like this, what will happen? Preoccupations in relation to the wealth becomes less. Are you able to follow? Next comes the physical body. Not everybody will be attracted to wealth, or everybody will be having a combination of all these three. Next is the physical body. What is the physical body? The push and the pull. The push and the pull. It happens, Sometimes you go to these places, it will be written push. Where it is written push, the fellow will pull. Yeah. Where it is written pull, the fellow will try to push. Push Tamil, the fellow will understand. You write, you write a push and pull there. What the fellow will, what the person will understand, isn't it? And you have to keep one person there to say what is push and what is pull. The sense objects, and then there is the push and the pull. There are three. One is the sense object, another is the sense organ, another is the sense center. Technically, one is the sense object, then comes the sense organ, then comes the sense center. In the human anatomy, we talk about the jnana indriya and karma indriyas. Jnana indriyas and karma indriyas, we say. What is the physical body? The physical body is the set of two sets of organs. Jnana indriyas and karma indriyas. Not the organs, the sense center. So there are three things now. What are the three things? There is the sense object, and then there is the sense organ, and then there is the sense center. By running away from the object, by shutting down the sense organs, nothing will happen. If you understand these two, you know what to do and what not to do. By running away from the sense objects, nothing will happen. By shutting down your organs, nothing will happen. If shutting down your organs, if everything becomes possible, means very simple, no? Isn't it? Pluck your eyes, you are free, isn't it? Pluck your eyes, you are free. Burn your nose, I don't know. Burn your tongue, you become free. Yeah? No. The sense objects and the sense organs, and then comes the sense center. When you are seeing, the object enters through the organ and gets registered in the sense center. And where is the sense center? The sense centers are located in the mind. The sense centers is located in the mind. So the objects enter through the sense organ and gets registered in the mind. And when it gets registered in the mind, it gets registered as a vritti, a thought. The object doesn't enter you, correct? Object doesn't enter you. Does the object enter you? Object doesn't enter you. The object through the organ gets registered in the mind. In what form it gets registered? It gets registered in the form of a thought. Are you okay till now? Very easy. From here, connected to verses 62, 63, chapter 2. This is how a thought is registered. How are you able to follow, Manogar? Purida? How the thought is getting registered? The sense object passing through the sense organ gets registered at the sense center. And how do you know that registration has happened? A thought arises. Are you okay till now? Now connected to 62, 63, chapter 2. Dhyayataha. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bija. All that. When the thought has registered, what happens? Ending perception with perception means the thought is registered and you do not create any ripples over it. When you are sitting and creating ripples over it, what are you doing? You are strengthening the desires. So that, okay, since it is because of all the problem is because of organs, is a problem. So if I can shut down the organs, what will happen? Mind will shut down. Huh? No, mind will not shut down. Why? Because there is a pull. There is a pull. Pullna ilgarda. Something is pushing you from inside. Something is pulling you. So even if the sense organs stay quiet, the mind will not allow the sense organs to stay quiet. The mind will tell the eyes to look for the pleasant sight. The mind will tell the ears, talk to that person, listen to that person, don't listen to somebody else, listen to that person. Why? Because that person is pleasant, sir. That person making me feel very pleasant. Why not to somebody else? Because that person makes you feel very unpleasant. Are you able to follow? So there is the push and then there is the pull. You cannot get rid of the objects. You cannot get rid of the Organs, because if the organ goes, you have no tool to function. If the body goes, you have no tool to function. So you need the body, meaning you need the tools. Yeah. The Ayuda Puja, isn't it? You need the tools. You worship the tool, isn't it? You repair the tool. You keep the tool in. Only on that day, everything becomes God, isn't it? Only on Ayuda Puja day, everything becomes God, isn't it? The car will become the God. The cycle will become the God. The dustbin will become God. Everything becomes God on that particular day. The tools are needed. You cannot do without a tool. You cannot do without the tool. You cannot escape from the tool, but you need to make proper use of the tool, not to be obsessed with it. That is the physical body. Are you able to follow now? Is physical body required? Yes or no? Is physical body required? Yes or no? Kolattur. Yes and no. Correct. Yes and no. Yes, because Anshu, very good. Yes and no. Very good. Correct. Yes and no. You need it because it's the tool. No, because it has got nothing to do with satisfaction. Tool, you make use of it, but it has got nothing to do with satisfaction. You may use the right tool. You may make use of it effectively. You may make use of it effectively. And what is the effective way of making use of the tool to fulfill your obligations? Karma Yoga. The tool is required for Karma Yoga, for actions. Actions, karma here in this context means karma Yoga. So you keep the tools in perfect order, isn't it? That's how the Vedic prayer starts. Om apyayantu mamangani vak pranas chaksu shrotramato bhalam indriyani cha sarvani. Let all my indriyas have balam, strength. Vak, prana, chakshu, everything must clear. The chakshu must be powerful. The vak must be powerful. Everything must have balam. Why? To fulfill your obligation. Look at the Vedic prayer. What it starts with. Apyayantu mamangani mama angani vak pranaha chakshuhu shrotra balam indriyam sarvani indriyani balam. All indriyas must have that balam, power. Why? Because mokka katyala inna prayojanam, isn't it? Katti must be, katti means the knife. I'm sure. You won't know Tamil, no? No, you don't know, no? That's why. Otherwise, I would ask you to translate mokka in English. I don't know how to translate mokka in English. Blunt. Yeah. Blunt எல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் refined இருக்கு. Mokka is more, yeah, mokka is better, the best word. Yeah. Mokka கத்திப்பா அப்படின்னா blunt knife. You cannot cut. Even butter you cannot. Even butter can't. So the tool has to be. So you pay attention to the body as you pay attention to the tool. That is the right way of dealing with the body. So you will not be preoccupied with the body. Clear? 24 hours you will not be keeping attending to the tool only. No. Isn't it? You keep the tool. How do you keep the... Before you use the tool, you wash. After you use the tool, you wash. That's all. Isn't it? You won't keep washing, sanitizing, and then don't use the tool at all, isn't it? Because you are so preoccupied in preserving the tool is not used at all. Karma Yoga is not at all done, but body is. Eating habits are good, exercises I do, I keep my body fit and then do what? Netflix. Huh? That is not making proper use of the tool. So is wealth required? Yes and no. Body required? Yes and no. Moon of the mind. The mind time, but still we'll finish the mind. Next week we want to do the aphorisms. What is mind? Never mind, sir. Never mind. What is mind? Likes and dislikes, attachment. That's all mind is. Mind is nothing but likes and dislikes and attachment. That's what he says. Attractions and aversions. That is the mind. Attachment is craving. Attachment and craving. So, attractions and aversions, attachment and craving. All of the mind. Attachment to what you have and craving for that which you don't have. Attachment to what you possess and craving about that which you don't possess. That's called mind. So what is mind now? Two things. What are the two things? Raga and dvesha, likes and dislikes, attractions and aversion. I like something, I don't like something. So satisfaction comes when I get what I like. Dissatisfaction comes when I get that which I don't like. So two things is, I should get what I like and I should not get what I don't like, isn't it? I should get message from one person. I should not get message from X must send me message. Y should not send any message. And invariably what will happen? Y கிட்டே the message வந்துகிட்டே இருக்கும், isn't it? And X will not send you any message. And you have to call and remind that you are still existing to the X. Attraction and aversion. Distinct and different from that is attachment and craving. Attachment to what you possess and craving about that which you don't possess. Attachment to what you have, craving about that which you don't have. Now what happens? So wealth preoccupies your mind. Taking care of the tool preoccupies your mind. Now the third preoccupation. What is the third preoccupation? Likes and dislikes, attachment and aversion. Likes and dislikes, attachment and aversion. All these three keeps you so occupied to the world. And this preoccupation prevents you from thinking about the reality at all. It doesn't allow you to think about the reality at all. As a result of which, what happens? You are caught up in the world. You miss the reality. So what intellect does? Intellect doesn't teach what the reality is. Intellect cannot conceive Brahman. But what intellect does? It educates the mind on the yes and no of the world. Able to follow? Intellect doesn't reveal Brahman, but intellect is very useful. Intellect is very important. Why? Because intellect teaches you the yes and no of everything. The moment you understand the yes and no of everything, you will not be that preoccupied. Are you able to follow now? You will not be that preoccupied. When you are not that occupied, or when you are not that preoccupied, you can direct your efforts towards the reality. You can direct your efforts towards the reality. And what is that reality? That reality is discussed in 4 aphorisms, which we will do next week. So shift your focus. How do you shift your focus? preoccupations. And what are the, how do you make sure, how do you tell the mind, how do you educate the mind to withdraw from the preoccupations? Educate the mind on what? The yes and no of everything. You should educate the mind on yes and no of everything. Is body required? Yes. As a tool, it is required. Is wealth required? Iron and gold is good for buying. Iron and gold, it is required. Mind, positive emotions, etc. comes from the, rather than, instead of spending the energies on raga, dvesha, attractions and aversions, it has to be shifted towards what is the root of all positivity in life? All the positive emotions. What is the root of positivity in life? Gratitude. The root of positivity in life is gratitude. Very correct. Gratitude is the root. All positivity in life arises out of gratitude. All negativities arises out of ingratitude. So, mind is required. Positive energies are required. Positivity is required. And what is that method to positivity? By developing gratitude. The moment you develop gratitude, life becomes a one-way traffic. From your side, you will keep doing. That's all. Not bothered about, unconcerned about what is being given back to you. That is gratitude. If I'm grateful, what will happen to me? What will happen to you? You will evolve. That's all. If you are grateful, you will become a better person. Are you able to follow? Others will remain as they are only. Because of your gratitude, the other is not going to change. Are you able to follow? That connect. Yes and no. If you are grateful, you will be a positive person. Because of your gratitude, the other is not going to change. For the other to change, what is required? That person must develop gratitude. Correct? Your gratitude is not going to change the other person. Therefore, by these disciplines, your preoccupation with the world is minimized. When the preoccupations with the world is minimized, you can direct the thoughts and energies towards the reality. And what is that reality? That reality is described in the four aphorisms. By the four aphorisms, it is described, which we will do next class. Aphorisms we will take up in the next class. Yes.
In a wealth prosperity, it is meant for buying iron and gold. In that sense, yes. And no, in the sense of you will not get satisfaction. And for body is concerned, is that it is good as a tool to do karma yoga, but it's not going to give you satisfaction.
Yes.
Mind distinction
In relation to the
what is yes and what is no.
What is yes and what is no? I told you, instead of attraction and aversion, instead of raga, dvesha, attachment and craving, convert it to gratitude.
That is yes.
That is yes.
But you will not get satisfaction.
Gratitude makes you, gratitude frees you from the preoccupations. Here the point is not satisfaction. The point is satisfaction comes when? Satisfaction comes only upon realizing the self. Satisfaction comes only upon realizing the self. Till then, there will not be satisfaction. It will be pockets of satisfaction with huge discontentment and disappointments. In the desert, there will be a small pocket of oasis, correct? In the desert, there is a small pocket of oasis in the desert. Happiness, satisfaction is like the oasis in the desert. You will not get you will not get the complete freedom from it. The complete freedom comes only upon realizing the self. The question is how to make you realize the self. It means you have to withdraw your preoccupations from the world. When will you not be, when will the mind not be preoccupied with the world? Only when it understands three things rightly. What are the three things rightly?
The use of wealth.
The yes and no of everything.
The yes and no of wealth.
Everything. That's all. The yes and no of everything. This yes and no of everything is a very good tool for manana. You can do a lot of reflection on it. It's a lot of manana tools idalla. Not for contemplation. Manana tools. 4 aphorisms, contemplation. There's no, but here you can do a lot of reflection on this. Yes and
No.
yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. It can never be yes or no. Yes or no. Yes and no. Do you want to live? Yes or no? Do you want to be alive? Yes or no? Yes, under some conditions. Chronic disease. Each and every cell in the body is going through excruciating pain and suffering. Will that person want to live? Able to follow? Say, I just want. So, do you want to live? Yes or no? There is no answer to that. It is always yes and no. This yes and no in layperson terms is in layperson's terminology, it's called T and C apply. Yes and are you able to follow? Yes and no abdinna. In layperson's terms, it's called T and C apply. Ellame T and C da. Everything is based on T and C na terms and conditions. That terms and conditions is the preoccupation. What is the preoccupation? Your terms and conditions is the preoccupation. So, withdrawing from preoccupation means, withdrawal from your preoccupation means withdrawal from dropping your terms and conditions. Are you able to follow? When you drop your terms and conditions and live life, you are so relieved. You have so much of time and energy and enthusiasm to think about the reality. So intellect prepares you to think about the reality by helping you to withdraw from the preoccupations of the world. Are you able to follow? Think about it. It's a very good tool for manana. Terms and conditions. Romba layperson's terms in the terms and conditions. கொஞ்சம் technically சொல்லணும்னா it is yes and no. In one word, this is the all this manana, all the manana method is covered in one sentence by Yajnavalkya to Maitreyi. All the manana material is covered in one sentence. Wealth is not dear for the sake of the wealth. Wealth is not dear for the sake of the wealth, but for the sake of the self. That one sentence is enough. That's manana tool. It's a tool for manana. We are only elaborating on that. Using that one layer. ஒரு தோசமா வச்சுட்டு 100 தோசை போடுற மாதிரி, isn't it? You have one basic thing and you make so much out of it. Are you able to follow?
So just wanted to check my understanding. So there's I'm so preoccupied because I believe in that lies my happiness and satisfaction.
Yes.
But Vedanta says that it doesn't, the satisfaction does not lie in any of the three, but you need it for a certain purposes. But
Yes.
don't believe it has
Yes.
got satisfaction.
Correct.
And you're using this logic and analysis only to reinforce the fact that you have to withdraw yourself from that.
Correct. Yes.
And rest your thought in the
Reality.
actual.
You have to understand, that's where I last week order connect panunadu. What is your goal and where is your focus? Connect that, it becomes easy. What is your goal? What is the goal of all human beings? Freedom from this chronic dissatisfaction is the goal. And where lies your focus? Shift it. Are you able to follow? Anything else, Venkat? Only, okay. With this, we conclude for today. Next week, beautiful it is. The four aphorisms from the four Upanishads. We'll continue with that next week.